The Hot Boys was you, Dooney, Sterling, and Mosquito.
Well, it was more than that, but everybody like started going to jail, started hanging out.
Besides that, you got the Wayne, Drake, Nicki, the Hot Boys. Before that, the Ross and Cali, all them niggas come from under my umbrella. Every last one of them niggas. Ain't too many niggas ain't been up under my umbrella. If they say it or don't say it, all them niggas come from.
Man, it's starting to look like Lil Wayne is finally done pretending everything is cool after Birdman went off on Turk during that wild Cash Money versus No Limit versus Zoe's moment. The second that clip hit the internet, fans started connecting dots instantly. Wayne didn't even need to open his mouth. His silence was loud enough to shake the whole room. You could feel the pressure through the screen like something was being held back, but everybody knew what it meant. And the crazy part is, this wasn't some random label crew thrown together for hits. These were people who came up as family. The Hot Boys built everything from nothing, turning tough times into a legacy. Wayne stood beside Birdman for years, defending him like he was really his father, no questions asked. But now that loyalty feels cracked, and it hits different. Because when you look back at the money issues, the legal fights, the quiet jabs, and all those behind-the-scenes tensions, the whole situation starts to reveal a cold picture that fans can't ignore anymore. Birdman didn't just create tension with the crew. People are saying he might have damaged the very legacy that made Cash Money Records legendary in the first place. Fans think Wayne's silence isn't just frustration.
It's a lot of moving parts with me and Wayne. And it's important to me that I fix that.
It's straight up disappointment. Wayne built his whole journey on loyalty, only to watch the foundation crumble right in front of him, and that feeling hits hard. What's even more unbelievable is how everything circled back around. Birdman used to be the mastermind who helped bring the Hot Boys to life, but now he's the same reason people think they may never come together again. And everything truly blew up at Complex Con on October 25th, 2025. That night was supposed to be a celebration of icons. Cash Money going head-to-head with No Limit, a nostalgic moment for the whole culture.
I understand our language, you feel me? But I got to say this for me. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Y'all know y'all can't with me when y'all wanna with me. And I just want to leave it at that, man. Like we gotta stop sending out these mixed messages to people, cause y'all, don't do that. You know what I'm talking about? Respectfully.
Fans expected unity, respect, and a legendary matchup, but instead, they got tension, attitude, and one of the most uncomfortable moments hip-hop has seen in years. What should have been a smooth victory lap turned into yet another public meltdown that reminded everybody exactly how fragile things really are. Some wounds inside the Cash Money family clearly never healed, and that became obvious fast. The night was meant to be about classics, reunions, and pure nostalgia. A full circle moment for everyone who grew up on that Cash Money wave, but instead of a warm throwback, Birdman grabbed the mic and flipped the entire energy in seconds. Out of nowhere, he started going off yelling, "Shout out to Turk, you a little Bob, you ain't here. We going to F with you when we want to F with you." The second those words hit the speakers, the whole room went silent. The crowd froze like they didn't even know how to react, staring at the stage in shock because nobody expected that type of heat. For a moment, it felt like everything paused. People were trying to stay mature about it, but the vibe was already shattered. And the moment those clips hit the internet, boom, social media exploded instantly. Fans on X and Instagram started posting the moment nonstop, tagging Turk all over the place. Folks were digging up old interviews, old grudges, old stories, trying to figure out what made Birdman snap like that.
I met Turk, shout out to Turk, you little you ain't here, but you. We gon' you when we won't you. You heard me?
Damn!
We gon' with that piece when we want.
People online were asking, what happened this time? And it turned into straight chaos within minutes. Turk's name was suddenly everywhere, trending across the whole platform as everyone tried to piece together the real story behind Birdman's unexpected outburst. Later that night, Turk hopped on live, staying calm, but making it very clear he was tired of being disrespected. You could see it in his face. He'd been holding in years of frustration. And now he was finally speaking like someone who reached his limit. Then he dropped that line that shook everybody watching. "Give me my percentage." That one sentence hit like a truth blast that nobody could ignore.
At the time, it was impossible to have any type of genuine or real feelings. I was on stage. I was in performance mode. I was trying to think about the words for the next song. Honestly, so I was just trying to make sure he didn't say it at a time where it was my verse and I messed up a line.
Fans instantly realized this wasn't just about pride or old feelings. This was business, loyalty that got cracked, and money that still hasn't touched the hands it should have touched. It was a real situation. From that moment, everything started making more sense. If Turk is still out here fighting for his proper share after all these years, then clearly the situation runs much deeper than the public ever knew. Fans started connecting the dots fast, and suddenly Birdman's wild moment on stage didn't seem random at all. It sounded like old, unsettled business spilling out in public. People started wondering if Birdman had been playing the same pattern from day one, while the internet was losing its mind over his latest moment. And right in the middle of all this noise, Lil Wayne stayed completely silent.
Y'all see what's going on. I think No Limit won. You know, that's my honest opinion. They was more organized. They was grown up about the situation.
That silence hit harder than any track could. Wayne didn't need to explain anything because deep down, everyone already understood what that quiet energy meant. And to really understand how long this has been building, you gotta rewind the timeline way back before Cash Money became the giant everyone knows today. The name Hot Boys wasn't some flashy studio idea or a random label creation. It came straight out of the Magnolia Projects in New Orleans back in the late 80s. And at first, it didn't have anything to do with music at all. Back then, the original Hot Boys were real street figures. Sterling, Doy, Mosquito, and Terrence Gangster Williams, Birdman's older brother. These weren't rappers. They were known, respected, and talked about all across the city. Their name carried weight long before studio sessions or hit records were even part of the picture.
How you, man?
What's up, Moolah?
I'm booling. How you, good?
You already know, bro.
Yeah, man. How Lil B? How Priya?
Man, Brian good, man. He graduated from college, man.
I know, man.
He got his own little spot, you heard me?
Man, what, man?
Yeah. We'll graduate next year, bro.
But things took a rough turn fast. The streets were harsh, and one by one, the original Hot Boys either got locked up or didn't make it through the chaos around them. The only person who lived long enough to witness what the name eventually turned into was Gangster Williams. And by the time he saw it, Birdman had already flipped the whole meaning into something completely different. Birdman took that name, a name that started in the trenches, and turned it into a symbol of ambition, influence, and big money. When he used Hot Boys for his rap group, it wasn't random at all. It showed how calculated he truly was. He transformed a street legend into a global brand, something that went from being whispered in the projects to blasting through speakers everywhere in America. The shift was huge, and it proved just how far Birdman was willing to go to build an empire.
I gave Wayne about $400 to $500 million. Drake got about $500 million, and Nicki got about $300-400 million out my pocket. No cap.
It was a smart move, no doubt, but it also meant the legacy of those original men would always be tied to Birdman's empire, whether people liked it or not, and that legacy ended up being both a blessing and a curse. By the mid-1990s, Birdman and his brother Slim had fully turned Cash Money Records into a rising powerhouse. But to make the label shine the way they pictured it, they needed a crew that could represent New Orleans with the same raw, fearless energy the original Hot Boys were known for. That's when the new generation stepped in: Lil Wayne, Juvenile, Turk, and BG, the new age Hot Boys. These young guys had everything: the style, the hunger, the attitude, and a crazy level of energy. Birdman saw potential immediately, and he moved fast, turning them into a full movement. He promoted them like legends before they even had plaques on the wall. Soon enough, the Hot Boys were everywhere. Mixtapes, music videos, magazine covers, stages across the country. They were shining in flashy jewelry, hopping out luxury rides, and shouting out loyalty to Baby like it was a code they lived by. And all of it worked in a major way.
But it's all love, though. We ain't doing no tripping over here. Big YNT, man. You know, YNT, that's what's going on over here.
Albums like Get It How You Live and Guerrilla Warfare didn't just sell, they built the entire Cash Money dynasty. Fans loved the chemistry, the confidence, and the bond the group showed every time they stepped out. But behind all the shine, something much heavier was growing. That loyalty Birdman preached came with a serious price. He kept his hands on everything: contracts, royalties, publishing, money flow. Every single piece of the machine was under his control. And that control is exactly where the problems started to grow. He controlled the entire dream, and everyone else was just moving inside it. At first, nobody even thought about questioning him. Birdman played the father figure role perfectly. The mentor, the boss, the one who helped turn young guys from the projects into stars with real money in their pockets. But as the fame started to rise, so did the confusion. The numbers weren't lining up, and quiet whispers started moving through the crew. Then the first major crack hit, Juvenile walked away, calling out the label for missing payments. His exit shook the whole team, and fans began to realize that maybe this family bond Birdman bragged about wasn't as solid as it looked. The cracks in the Cash Money Foundation were just starting to appear, and they were about to get way bigger. Right after Juvenile left, BG stepped out too, speaking out and calling Birdman a straight-up crook in his eyes. Then the situation took an even rougher turn. Turk got locked up, and when he eventually came home, he expected his earnings to be waiting for him. But what did he find? Nothing at all. The cash he believed he had built up was gone, like it never existed. And through all of that chaos, Lil Wayne stayed loyal. He stood right beside Birdman in interviews, calling him Pops, defending him like real family, and refusing to talk bad about anything behind the scenes. But even Wayne started to feel that something wasn't adding up. The math wasn't making sense. The checks weren't matching the work he was putting in, and every time he asked for clarity, the answers seemed to get more confusing. Birdman wasn't just a CEO, he was the gatekeeper, the one who controlled every move on that label. Nothing happened unless he gave the green light, and if anyone dared to push back, their whole career would stall overnight. Wayne might have been the youngest in the crew, but he wasn't clueless. He watched what happened to everybody else, and quietly started making his own strategic moves behind the scenes. He was planning his escape from the same label that made him a superstar. By the time 2015 came around, Wayne had hit his limit. He was done with the empty promises, the delays, and the money he never saw. That's when he filed a $51 million lawsuit against Birdman and Cash Money Records, saying he was owed an $8 million advance and another $2 million once Thug Carter 5 was completed. And that wasn't even the biggest part. Wayne also accused Birdman of holding back profits from Young Money Entertainment, the label Wayne built from scratch. That accusation shook the entire rap world, because if it was true, it meant Birdman was keeping money from the same artists who helped build the next generation of stars, Drake and Nicki Minaj. What once looked like real family had now turned into a full-on battleground. Wayne's fight for his money became one of the biggest legal showdowns the industry had ever seen. The loyalty was gone, and all that remained were broken ties, missing millions, and a silence from Wayne that spoke louder than any track ever could. Birdman denied everything. He insisted he never blocked Wayne's music or stopped the Carter 5 from dropping. But behind the scenes, Wayne was frustrated and tired of the holdups. His patience was gone, and the people watching from the outside could feel that tension building with every passing day. That album was supposed to be Wayne's huge comeback, his most personal project ever, and it kept getting pushed back for years because of the same confusing business issues. The streets were buzzing nonstop, fans were begging for it, and Wayne was stuck in the middle, watching his masterpiece sit untouched while Birdman acted like everything was completely normal. Finally, in 2018, they reached a settlement rumored to be over $10 million. But the situation didn't stop there. Not long after, Birdman jumped online claiming he'd given Wayne $400 to $500 million, and everybody instantly called that out as pure exaggeration. Nobody believed those numbers, not even a little bit. And even though they hugged on camera, fans could see the truth right away. That reunion was strictly for show. The tension was still there, hiding behind forced smiles and staged photos. To be fair, Birdman has been defending himself for years, at least publicly. He keeps saying everyone got paid, that people just don't understand how the business works. He insists he handed Wayne hundreds of millions through Universal distribution deals. But every time he throws out those huge numbers, they somehow never match the actual receipts. The math simply doesn't make sense. What makes it even harder to swallow is how Birdman constantly flaunts his lifestyle. Private jets, diamond-covered watches, designer outfits, and expensive gifts everywhere on social media. Meanwhile, a lot of his former artists are still working hard to rebuild their lives or still waiting for royalty checks they were promised decades ago. That's the part that hits the hardest. It feels like watching the man who built his whole empire off their talent continue living a luxury lifestyle while the same people who helped him rise are left trying to rebuild their lives piece by piece. And for fans, this isn't just about money anymore. It's about honor, loyalty, and a legacy that might never fully repair itself. Birdman built everything on two words: loyalty and family. But once the money conversation started, that family seemed to disappear quicker than anyone ever imagined. For a moment, it looked like things finally calmed down. No major drama, no open feuds, nothing crazy happening in public. But then in 2022, a plot twist dropped out of nowhere that absolutely nobody saw coming. Terrence "Gangster" Williams, Birdman's older brother and one of the original Hot Boys, was released from prison after serving over 23 years. His return sent shockwaves through the entire hip-hop world. Fans were stunned, and even Birdman looked completely caught off guard. And Gangsta didn't waste any time. He jumped straight into interviews, speaking openly about the real Hot Boys, the street version, and the true beginnings of Cash Money. He talked about the early New Orleans days, the grind, the struggles, the real moves being made, and how the name Hot Boys came straight from real street legends who risked everything before the music industry was even in the picture. And then came the bombshell. Gangsta basically confirmed what fans had been whispering for years, that Birdman used the Hot Boys name, their reputation, and even pieces of their real-life story to build the entire Cash Money brand, but never gave proper credit back to the people it came from. Birdman took their legacy, turned it into a powerhouse label, made millions from it, and then removed their names from the storyline as if they were never part of it. Fans were shocked because that wasn't just business. That was history being rewritten. And when people asked Birdman how he felt about his brother finally getting released, his reaction, or more accurately, his lack of any reaction, said everything. He acted like Gangsta wasn't even in the picture, like his own brother didn't exist at all. That cold response made fans realize the divide inside that family might be way deeper than anyone thought. No public welcome, no post, no shout out, nothing at all. That silence hit harder than any diss could. It proved that in Birdman's world, loyalty only seems to move in one direction, straight toward him. Now, almost 30 years later, the legacy of the Hot Boys is still hanging in the air. BG is finally free again. Juvenile keeps rocking solo stages, and Turk stays doing interviews, still calling Birdman out for promises he says were never kept. And Lil Wayne, he's too wealthy, too experienced, and too distant to ever look back at those old situations in the same way again. What used to be a brotherhood built on loyalty has now become a story about disappointment, quiet tension, and respect that faded over time. Now that everything is settled, the truth about Cash Money hits harder than ever. What began as a dream out of New Orleans turned into one of hip-hop's most powerful and most complicated dynasties. Birdman's name still carries major weight in the industry, no question. But right behind that name sits a long shadow, one that follows him every time he posts a diamond chain or steps off a private plane. People still remember the stories, the legal battles, the missing checks, the artists who walked away struggling while he lived like royalty. And the wildest part, even with all that tension, Birdman and Wayne's connection goes deeper than paperwork or record deals. They built an empire together. They changed the whole sound of a generation. They brought in superstars like Drake and Nicki Minaj, artists who still carry the Young Money stamp with pride today. But the loyalty that once held everything together eventually got replaced with contracts, attorneys, and a silence that speaks louder than anything they could say publicly. And now, it's not even just about the music. It's about legacy, the kind people will still talk about long after the spotlight fades. The Hot Boys name started in the trenches, turned into a symbol of pure street grind, and eventually became one of the most iconic brands in rap history. But now it feels like a bittersweet reminder of what happens when fame and money twist the meaning of family. Fans still dream about the day Wayne, Juvenile, Turk, and BG hit the stage together again. No tension, no paperwork, no grudges, just real history being made. But deep down, everyone knows how unlikely that moment really is. There's too much pain, too many bridges damaged, and way too many secrets buried under that Cash Money logo. Even newer artists look at this whole situation as a warning. Never sign without understanding the details, never let loyalty blind you, and always remember who controls the money. Birdman might still be sitting at the top, surrounded by luxury and a long legacy, but the whispers never stop. People still wonder how a label that gave the world so many classics could leave behind so many damaged relationships. The Hot Boys gave their youth, their talent, and their loyalty. And in return, they got a story that's still unfolding all these years later. In the end, the music will always live forever. But the truth behind it, that's the part that keeps haunting fans. The Cash Money legacy wasn't built in a straight line. It came together one beat, one lawsuit, and one moment of silence at a time. Fans keep begging for a real Hot Boys reunion, but let's be honest, those wounds run deep. Birdman might have been the one who built the brand that shaped an era, but in the process, he damaged the bond that once held everything tight. The Hot Boys were never just another rap crew. They were a true brotherhood built on loyalty, grind, and survival. They came from the same blocks, chased the same dream, and created a legacy that shifted hip-hop forever. But once money, ego and pride slid into the picture, that unbreakable bond started cracking, and eventually it fell apart. And now, with Birdman back tossing slick comments and flaunting his power like the past never happened, it's clear this story is nowhere near finished. Every time Lil Wayne stays quiet, every time Turk speaks his truth, and every time Birdman jumps online bragging about numbers, it reminds everybody that behind the platinum success and flashy cars was a family that never healed. The pain goes way deeper than contracts or missing checks. It's about trust, respect, and closure that no amount of money can fix. Because when you take away the fame and the business deals, what's left is a crew of men who built something legendary but couldn't keep it together, and that's what hurts the most. So here's the real question. If Birdman still owes them money, what else does he owe them that no price tag can repair? Maybe it's an apology, maybe it's recognition, or maybe it's already too late for either one. But one thing is guaranteed. The Hot Boys' legacy will always live inside hip-hop history, even if the people behind it never stand on the same stage together again. If you made it all the way to the end, show some real love. Drop a like, jump in the comments, and let me know how you feel about everything that went down with Cash Money. Share this video with someone who remembers those classic Hot Boys days, the real era. And make sure you subscribe so you never miss what's coming next. This whole saga is still unfolding, and we'll be right here breaking it all down piece by piece in the next video.